Hi everyone, I'm Vanessa Musi. I'm a healthy pastry chef here in Austin, Texas. And today I'm doing a demo for DeMarley. I'm going to be making my favorite chocolate pecan pies. So let's get started. I'm going to be using my favorite perfect baking molds. These are tart pans or pie pans. I'm going to use their baking tray as well. So the first thing we're going to make today is our toffee. It's a salted caramel. It's keto. So this recipe is gluten-free. It's going to be really awesome. So it's going to be pecan chocolate pie with a drizzle of this toffee. So let's put all our ingredients in our pan and let's start. Here we have heavy cream. You can also use coconut cream for a dairy-free version. Same amount. We're going to be using grass-fed butter. You can also use vegan butter, the same amount, and some Malden sea salt in here as well. I'm adding some allulose. Allulose is a rare sugar. It's a new sweetener. It's perfect for keto baking. So this is zero glycemic, zero carbs. It makes really awesome caramels and anything pretty much. We're going to add that here. And vanilla bean paste, or if you don't have it, you can add a scrape of vanilla bean into this mixture, or create an infusion if you want to before. And our secret ingredients, a little bit of molasses. That's going to give us a little more color and that caramelly notes, kind of more of a toffee flavor here. So we're going to whisk this until it's thick. You'll see it when you can see the line of your whisk. So whisk at medium-high heat. So this makes an awesome toffee salted caramel to drizzle on top of anything, a brownie, a sundae, a tart, a crumble, whatever you have. And it also makes a great foodie gift. You can also add some chocolate and make it or some bourbon if you're feeling adventurous. So we're going to pour it into this jar. So you'll start noticing that it's a little darker, it's thicker, and it smells more caramelly. So that's how you know it's ready. This keeps for about two or 3 months in the fridge, and you can make it thicker by just cooking it down a little longer. Once you see those thick, big bubbles, you're almost near the temperature that has to be achieved to make it a soft ball stage. Okay, so unlike other sweeteners, allulose is a keto sweetener that does not crystallize, so it makes awesome jams. Any pastry cream, lemon cream, all those things work really well with allulose. Once your caramel is the color you like it, we're going to pour it into this jar. And you chill it so it thickens up a little more. So we're going to be doing our pie crust or pastry dough, and for that we're going to be using a food processor to make a flaky crust, and this is gluten-free, it's paleo, so it's grain-free. And we'll talk about some substitutions in a little bit. So we're going to add our flour. So we have tapioca starch or tapioca flour. We have some cassava flour and almond flour. Some sea salt, maple sugar or coconut sugar, and some water and some lemon juice. I'm going to pull out the butter from the fridge. So we need our butter at kind of cold, firm, and we're going to start processing the flours first at medium speed, just so we integrate those. So flour, sweetener, salt, just so they're well combined. Now we're going to add our butter, and we're going to start making the butter flaky. And you can also do this by hand with a spatula. So add this here. This can be done the day before. So now we're going to process the butter so it's like lentil sizes. So once the butter is chopped up nicely into the size of lentils, we're going to check our mixture, and now that it's nice and crumbly, we can add our water and lemon juice. So the lemon juice is going to make it flakier, and our ice cold water. Here we're going to use reverse mode. Once we have a dough that's bind together, you may add some more water, and we have a flaky dough. Now we're going to be using our pastry mat, so we can roll out our dough. This is a perfect pastry, my Silpat. I'm going to roll it out here, and I love it because you have different shapes and sizes. Again, you can do this the day before. You may want to refrigerate the dough a little bit so it's more hydrated and easier to roll out. But I find that this dough is pretty manageable as it is. So if it doesn't come together, you can add a little more water, but this one's fine. And this pastry mat allows us not to use any added flours, which I love, because you're just using the dough as it is. So you can extend this with a rolling pin, or you can either add another Silpat on top and roll it out. It really depends on how the consistency of your dough is. So I'm going to be using this right now, but I can also use another mat on top. Okay, so we're going to roll this out. If you find your dough is a little too wet, you can put it in the fridge or freezer. So once we have a rectangle, we're going to cut some shells with our pastry cutter, with size a little bit bigger than the size of the mold, so we can line them evenly and they won't shrink. So we're going to pre-bake our shells, and then we're going to put the filling, and they bake them with the filling so it's nice and crispy. And I'm going to preheat the oven to 350. So convection oven is best for baking. So now the dough is getting a little softer. I'm going to put it in the fridge for a little bit. So use your same mat. You can also put it in the freezer, and you can also use your perforated tray so it chills faster. Put this in the freezer so it's easier to cut for like 10 minutes. So our pecan pie filling is really simple to make, and here is where you can substitute a lot of ingredients. We're gonna mix our eggs and vanilla over here. So I like to use organic pasture-raised eggs, and I've added some vanilla, or you can also use vanilla bean paste, and I'm adding some maple sugar. You can buy it or you can make it, and adding some coconut sugar as well. So whisk that really well. And I'm going to add some maple syrup. That's going to make it nice and gooey. So we're using alternative flours and alternative sweeteners, which are healthier. And I'm also going to add our melted butter. You can also use ghee, or you can also use coconut oil as well, same amount if you're dairy free. We also have great vegan butters you can also use. Just whisk that. You can also use a mixture of maple syrup and honey as well. And we're going to add our chopped pecans. You can also use whole pecans, and we're going to add that. I'm not going to add the chocolate here directly. I'm just going to put it on the side so I can fill each pie separately, and I'm going to add the salt later on. So we're holding on to those ingredients there for later on. And let's take this back while we shape our pies. So the beautiful thing about these pans is they don't need greasing, and I always recommend you bake them on a perforated tray. We have our perfect Silpat tray for baking, and it also acts like a cooling rack, so it's a 2-in-1 product. And so you need a perforated tray so it circulates air and it bakes faster. So this is the way we're going to do it. Over here, set those aside, and we'll bring out our dough. Okay, so once the dough's chilled, I love using the freezer for this because it's super fast, and we're gonna cut some. I'll do some to show you, and just take some out like this. You don't want to shape them when they're frozen because it's gonna crack, so let's let them at room temperature a little bit. Also, you use a pastry temper like this to help them go inside all the way. Make sure they don't crack, and if they do crack, you can just stick it together. But we just want the dough to be at room temperature and that they're nicely shaped inside, so you're not eating a thick crust. You can also use one of these rolling pins for tarts to shape them in the edges. Okay. Okay, once we've got all of them lined up, we're going to start shaping them inside. Okay, so now we're going to pre-bake them until golden and crispy. Over here, 350 preheated oven. I have a metal tray in the bottom, so that makes it easier to bake underneath the tart or the pie crust, and so that's going to make it flakier. Our pie crusts are ready, you guys, and so they're golden, they're crispy, and they're pre-baked. Just pull it out and fill them with our pecan filling. So this you can make the day before. Start filling them. Make sure you have enough filling and enough pecans as well. And we're going to also add some chocolate. I like to use maple sugar sweetened chocolate. This is bean to bar. You can start adding that in the bottom like that, or you can add it within the filling. So now the second baking is going to be less time, depends on your oven, and we're going to add a lot of salt on top. That's up to you how much you add. I'm sure most of you have made some sort of a pecan pie before, and you know that it finishes setting when it cools down, like any custard mixture. So don't expect it to be hard when we bake it. It's going to be set, but it will continue setting later on when it chills. Okay, so make sure you fill them up as far up as you can. Now add some chocolate on top. You can leave some with, some without. I personally love the chocolate. It tastes like a turtle pie. And the salt on top really makes a difference. It elevates the pie to another level. And that salt really pulls out the chocolate and the caramel flavors. So, some people call it derby pie. That's another version. You can also, like I said, add some bourbon or rum. So salt we can add before or after we bake, and that's up to you. I'm going to add mine after. So I'm going to bake that again at 350 until it's set and golden on the top. Top of the oven is best. Our pecan pies are ready, so we'll pull them out of the oven, and they look beautiful. So there you go. The beautiful part of this mold is you can let them cool directly here, and you can, Once it's cool, you can unmold it really easily, and I'll show you in a little bit. I'm going to add some salt, the molten salt that we reserved. Add it now on top so it sticks to the melted caramel. So you want a lot of salt. That's the secret of these pies, especially with the chocolate. It goes really well. And I'm going to add some of the caramel that we made and I cooled. Okay, so once they're cool enough to handle, carefully release them underneath. This is still a little warm, and then you can flip it, take it out carefully, and put it on the side. And now we're going to drizzle with caramel. Okay, you can drizzle with caramel. You can also swirl some melted chocolate on top. That's another option. Just swirl it on top here. There you go. I hope you enjoyed this video and this demo, and we're going to take a bite. We'll see you soon. Happy baking. I'm going to be eating this. Amazing. You can see the flaky crust, the gooey middle, and the caramel on top, and the salt. Show you that close up right there. That's with the chocolate. That's another experience. See you soon, guys. Thank you.